A troubling increase in town of incidents of vandalism to signage supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. An encouraging glimpse into the commitment Arlington youth is bringing to the work of making positive change in our community. And the town manager's thoughts on our school reopening plans and other matters. These stories up next.
From McLennan Park to Spy Pond, from Poets Corner to the Mystic River, we have Arlington covered. We're your neighbors, a friend you can turn to. This is ACMi News.
Hello everyone, I'm James Milan and welcome to ACMi News' first broadcast in the post-Jeff Barnt era. Jeff, or JB as he was known at ACMi, was with us as news director for just a couple of years, but he left a truly indelible mark on ACMi News. He's a consummate professional, and we wish him the very best in his new adventures, but we will well and truly miss him. And now, on to this week's news. Reports are emerging of a lamentable increase in vandalism around town. The target? Signs and banners proclaiming or supporting Black Lives Matter. We will get Town Manager Adam Chapdelain's response to this a little later in the broadcast. First, this report from ACMi News intern Maxim Isaac.
After the death of George Floyd in May, hundreds and thousands of people have stood in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement, including right here in Arlington, where residents have been gathering nightly for months to show their support. Arlingtonians have held up signs and posted banners on their property, but some have countered these messages with divisive action. The Arlington Human Rights Commission recently announced that there have been at least 13 reported incidents of destruction, theft, and vandalism of Black Lives Matter banners and lawn signs throughout the town. On August 10th, according to the Arlington Police Department, there were 4 cases of vandalization that had occurred in Arlington at 2 residencies in East Arlington and 2 churches on Mass Ave, the First Parish Unitarian Universalist of Arlington and the Calvary Church. Some residents appear to be disheartened about these acts and want something to be done about it.
I think people have the right to post banners for Black Lives Matter, and they're a matter of public opinion, and I think it's really horrible that they were vandalized.
Oh, it's really sad. I know that that's happened in years past, but it's just horrible to see, especially there's so much more awareness of all of the bad things that go on, so it just feels worse that people are doing that. And it happened near our school at Pierce School, and that was really sad to see as well.
I think the police department should find out who's been doing that and prevent it.
One protester who comes out to the center to show and garner support for the movement says the response she gets can be underwhelming.
So upsetting. I guess it's not surprising, but it's so upsetting. I've been coming out on like 2 or 3 times a week to come to like hold the signs and the protests here in the center. So I know that not everyone agrees because a lot of people don't beep or wave. A lot of people do beep or wave, thumbs up, there's a lot of that, but it's not even half the people, and some people are mean.
According to officials, vandals altered the First Parish Church's sign to read "All Lives Matter." They also destroyed 2 signs and 1 mural at the Calvary Church. At the East Arlington houses, KKK stickers were placed on the property. The vandals gave no indication of why they committed these criminal acts, but one Arlington resident would like to know.
I also see acts of vandalism as sort of cries for help in some way, shape, or form, or wanting to be seen and heard. And so I'd be curious, what the folks who are doing it are really looking for.
Arlington police are asking anyone with information about these acts of vandalism to contact them at 781-643-1212 or text TIP 411. For ACMi News, I'm Maxim Isaac.
We welcome Town Manager Adam Chapdelain back from a no doubt well-earned, but nonetheless brief vacation. The news, of course, takes no such break, so there was plenty to discuss with Adam, from familiar topics like COVID-19 and the aforementioned vandalism, to the school department's recent announcement of their plan for reopening. Here are some highlights from my conversation with Adam earlier this week. Adam, I understand you just came back from vacation. I hope it was a good one.
It was a good one. It was refreshing, good weather, good time with the family, but glad to be back.
We're glad to have you. Anyway, Adam, let's get right to it. We've got, as usual, a full slate of things to talk about. And the first is, there's not a lot of change in the local COVID situation, but tell us your thoughts.
So I think top line, you're right. We're very static in our numbers, which is good news.
Right.
Right. It's very good news. And I think there is a commendation to go around to the whole town, right? That right from the start, I'd like to think the government took it seriously. I think the residents took it seriously. And I think a large part of that is why we have stable numbers right now. That said, we had our noontime check-in call today, and I think we all still agree that this is not a time to let up. That we don't have borders around our town, that there are still communities nearby us that are not seeing the same success. The state is seeing success, but there are still hot spots in the state, and we need to stay vigilant in the activities that we choose, in the wearing of masks in public places, and the need to socially distance, wash our hands, sanitize, so on and so forth. So I think we have as good of news as we probably could have hoped for at this time. If we were looking forward 2 months ago, I think we'd be very happy to see where we are today. But, I would say to Jeff every week, I still believe we have a long road ahead. We need to get that vaccine before we can really have a sense of safety. So I think the best way forward is to continue to be vigilant. And, I know we have this tagline or sort of hashtag resist the urge, avoid the surge. And I think that it works, right? You don't do that activity that you might really want to do. Don't have that party in your backyard. Don't have that play date with a couple families in the house. Just don't. It hurts, right? It hurts not to have the socialization, the connection, all of these different things that you might want to do. But we got to continue to sort of stick with this we're all in this together mentality and get through this so that we don't have another surge that overwhelms the hospitals.
Another staple of your conversations with Jeff over the last number of months, lamentably, is the situation with Black Lives Matter. In this case, banners, again, and vandalism having to do with Black Lives Banners and signs, Black Lives Matter banners and signs. Just saw a disturbing number out from the Arlington Human Rights Commission saying that, there may be, as they've heard from at least 13 different incidents. I know that we're all familiar perhaps with a few rather prominent ones in churches, at school, etc. But this is disturbing news.
It's very disturbing. It's very upsetting. I can confirm that number of 13. I spoke with the police chief earlier today. And they're still working. There's a detective assigned to the matter, working with neighbors of signs that have been vandalized, seeing if there's any Ring doorbell cams where we might be able to see who's doing this. But even outside of the investigation, it's just upsetting that people are perpetrating these hurtful actions. We can't make people agree with one another necessarily about what the signs say or the values behind the statement of Black Lives Matter, it's a shame that we can't come to terms on that. But even if you don't agree, going out and vandalizing something, and in addition to the vandalism, the message of that vandalism being one of hate is just not what I really don't believe it's what this community is, what this community wants to be, or what this community has been. So, I denounce the acts in the strongest of terms. I hope we find who did it so that we can hold them properly accountable. And if we don't find them, I hope they stop because it really is not in any shape or form of this important dialogue that we need to have about race in this country, in this state, in this town. That's not the way to go about it. It's just not. It's an immature, childish way of addressing, what might be something that's upsetting to you, but that's not how you do it. And I'm very disappointed that it's been happening.
Yeah. Would there were a magic wand to do something about it? Let us hope that people come to their senses, and we'll see what happens. Love to not ask you that question again next time I talk to you.
Yeah.
As school districts all over struggle to figure out how, if, et cetera, to reopen. And Arlington just recently, our school department just recently announced the plans for this year. I'll let you go ahead and describe those plans and then give us your thoughts.
So I know that the school committee adopted K through 8, a hybrid model, and then 9 through 12, a fully remote model to start the year. Although since that adoption, my understanding is they've offered an additional sort of opt-in, opt-out for the hybrid for K through 8. So if a family chooses to stay fully remote, they will have that option to do so, which I think is based on a requirement that came out of the state after the decisions were made by the school committee last week. And I mean, I want to commend Superintendent Bodie, her team, the school committee, all the parents and other folks in the community that have been part of the surveys and the feedback and public dialogue around the issue. And I mean, I guess at the end of the day, I've been having this discussion personally with friends and family who have kids in different school districts all over the state. And, you know, at the end of the day, there's no good answer. There's no one selection that either a district can make or a parent can make that you can feel like I've made the right decision. And I, you know, and Arlington is part of that, right? There's going to be people who desire, you know, fully in school. There's going to be people who want fully remote. And hybrid is probably, you know, a compromise that no one's going to be happy with. But at the end of the day, I think Kathy and her team have done as best a job as is possible given the circumstances to offer, you know, what hopefully will be a successful learning model for the, you know, hopefully the first semester, and we can see where it goes from there.
I also had a chance to ask Adam about potential effects on morale at the Arlington Police Department stemming from a couple of things. One, the tone and the nature of the public conversation going on in town here over these last couple of years in the wake of the Lieutenant Pedrini incident, and also changing attitudes towards police and policing that are reflected in the intense national conversation that's been happening over these last months. And here's what he had to say.
What I would say is in all of this that I think we all have to appreciate, acknowledge, and understand the humanity of police officers. That we have significant problems of policing in this country. I say that loud and clearly, that we have work to do. I think that work isn't created equal across all states and across all police departments, but it's present. It is present everywhere. But within that, you know, we want policing to improve and to a certain degree to better humanize the people that they deal with on a daily basis. But I feel like equally, we need people who are advocating for police reform to humanize police officers more and understand that just like other humans, they have feelings, emotions, reactions, and are impacted by things. I mean, what I would say to officers is, you know, we have to be willing to take a step back and be introspective and be willing to analyze ourselves and allow others to be part of that analysis to see how this, you know, the Arlington Police Department should be modeled and how it should be operating. But to those looking, you know, externally at the police department, I would repeat saying, you know, your aims are likely true, and there are changes that we should consider. But again, there's humans behind the badge, and I think if we could all collectively start to look at one another from that perspective of humanity, maybe we could get through this conversation better.
You can access the full conversation on our ACMi News Facebook page. The Monotony Hunter is an image of a Native American in profile that has been used as a logo by the town and by high school sports teams for many years. Now, however, there is heightened scrutiny about its use in those contexts. In this next segment, we bring you portions of an interview with an Arlington High School student who describes her own group's efforts to constructively address a complex issue: how to balance the hunter's historical significance to the town with concerns about its cultural appropriateness. ACMi's Sam Derringer, an AHS student himself, conducts the interview.
I'm just going to start off this interview today by kind of asking you to state your opinions on the conflict that's going on in town right now. We have really two sides. We have the side that is for keeping the Monotony Hunter in the high school emblem. They believe that there's history and this is built in the town culture, and the other side believes that it's not so culturally appropriate to have in the emblem. And I want to hear your opinions on the use of the Monotony Hunter in the high school emblem.
Sure. So I've grown up in Arlington, and the Menominee Hunter has been in use in the town seal and also in the high school the whole time I've been here. I see the validity in the argument about history and saying that it's an important part of the town. However, I feel that there is a difference between using the image in the statue by Cyrus E. Dallin and using the image on sports uniforms and paperwork at the school. There's a lot of history with the statue and with Dallin that holds merit and shows respect for the Native Americans and the indigenous peoples who were here before the white colonizers. However, once you get into using it as a logo and a seal by a completely majority white community, it to me is no longer a symbol of respect and acknowledgement.
You and some other students have come together as part of this committee to put together a virtual exhibit relating to what is a spy ponder, etc. And I just wanted you to provide a little background on this project and how you got the idea for this project and just some general information about what you've been up to.
Sure. So I attended the rally that was organized by the group, the Black Alum, in Arlington Center a couple, I guess, maybe a month ago now. And they read a list of demands for the Arlington public school system. And the final demand was that the mascot be changed. That's one of the questions that was addressed in a statement that was then put out by the high school principal, Dr. Jenger, when he asked people to refrain from using the image on any new projects or places until it can be decided whether or not the logo is officially retired. So when all of that was coming out and coming together, we were meeting to discuss sort of how the Inclusion and Diversity Committee could contribute to figuring out what to do with the logo. And at the same time, the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History decided to remove a statue of Theodore Roosevelt that had sat outside of the museum because they felt that the Native American and the free Black American that were part of the statue was culturally insensitive and it merited the statue being removed. However, 2 years prior to the decision to remove the statue, they had done an exhibit called Addressing the Statue, in which they contextualized and educated the public about the statue and its implications and sort of just everything it stands for and why what it stands for might be problematic. And so we were inspired by that process. However, we are hoping to expedite it over a quicker timeline than 2 years. To sort of address a lot of questions and misconceptions that have to do with the image of the Menominee Hunter and the use of Native American imagery by white communities as a whole in the style of this exhibit.
How have you been getting public opinion and input on this project from the Arlington community and the Native American community as a whole?
Yeah, of course. We believe that it is extremely important to incorporate Native opinions on matters like this, since we do not have an inside perspective in that way. And so we are hoping to partner with the Arlington Human Rights Commission and to utilize their resources to the fullest to involve Native Americans and other different viewpoints. So we are looking into the idea of organizing a live panel of voices or, to voice their opinions regarding the logo and the statue. And to have that kickstart collecting viewpoints for the exhibit later on.
After you've completed this project, do you have any next steps in terms of addressing the Menominee Hunter on the seal? It will really depend on how the public responds to this exhibit, or do you have an idea of what the committee is going to do going forward?
So obviously everything is dependent on how the previous steps go, but we are hoping that once this panel happens and once public opinion hopefully is shown in support of at least ending the logo's association with Arlington High School, we can officially present the issue to the school committee, who has the final say in officially retiring the logo. So despite the principal's decision to request people refrain from using it for now, It has not been officially retired or removed from its association with the school, and we are hoping that we can make that happen.
If you'd like to see the interview in its entirety, as well as other engaging content that focuses on youth activities, concerns, and activism, tune in to Sam's series, You View, which you can find airing on our education channel and lodged on our website at acmi.tv. And that'll do it for this week's abbreviated newscast. We try and keep you abreast of all the latest news and information on our ACMi News Facebook page, and you can find this newscast and lots of other great content on our website at acmi.tv. As my friend Jeff Barnt likes to say, stay safe, take care of each other, wash those hands, and be well. For ACMi News, I'm James Milan. We'll see you next time.
You can always check out our latest segments and newscasts on the web at acmi.tv/news. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ACMi News. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. You'll find us at youtube.com/ACMi News. If you have any news tips for us or wish to become a citizen journalist, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at news@acmi.tv or stop by ACMI Studio A at 85 Park Avenue.